So yeah, I'm Peter Shepherd from Perfect Octave. I'm the technical director. So just wanted to share a couple of bits about how we're working with Q-SYS. So we're a music and media provider predominantly based in the UK. And I've been thinking about this today about what to say because you don't want to go through just PowerPoint presentations, right? And the words that kept coming to mind was, funny enough, it was love and hate, right? So, I don't know, it's just a sharp one, right? Love and hate, but quite sharp words, quite sharp emotions, if you want to call it that. And music is probably the biggest driver of emotion that I can think of. It drives behavior in people, in humans, and everyone. I don't think anyone would really stand there and say, music doesn't affect me as a person, even if you don't realize it on a day-to-day basis, right? So if you think about some simple examples, so you're driving down the road and you're listening to your Jack Johnson and singing about banana pancakes, etc. Someone cuts you up on the road, you might have a few choice words, but you're probably not going to react too badly. Now, you change that music to Metallica. I was talking about Metallica earlier. You change that to Metallica and drive along the road, you're probably driving a bit quicker. That same guy cuts you up. I bet those choice words are a bit harsher. You might go and try and catch him up and do something about it, right? So that's a cut down version, but essentially music does have that power to change the human's behavior. And the reason why that's important, in that love-hate relationship is people love certain types of music, they may hate certain types of music. They love pop music, they may hate rock music, for example. So when it comes to the music that actually plays in a commercial space, anywhere that there's going to be the general public, you have a profound effect over those people, right? You can create and invoke memories for people using music. I'm sure there's probably a track that might come to mind from time to time. You think, oh, actually, if I heard that track, it might play, and suddenly you remember a certain incident, 2 years ago, you remember where you were. It has that emotional power. So music in the commercial space is incredibly important. This is why we've worked with brands over the years to curate and define what that music strategy is going to be. And there's various things that can come into play. So again, the music defines part of what that brand is. It can enhance brand loyalty. It can also, a detrimental effect. It can ruin brand loyalty if you choose the wrong music. You can control that throughput and dwell time. So back to that behavioral piece. Another example, if you're sitting in a restaurant, it's actually scientifically proven, right? You will change your eating speed according to the tempo of the music that's playing. So if you're sitting down in a restaurant and you're eating lunch, for example, maybe they want to decrease that dwell time. They want to get you through your meal quicker so they can turn over the tables. They could increase the BPM of the general music playing, have that turnover increase, and that's actually been done in several experiments and proven to have a dramatic effect on revenue and restaurant turnover. And of course, if you're doing this from location to location, you can build a brand consistency. So a client or a customer will have the same experience going from store to store, not only in the look and the feel, but the sound as well. And then moving more slightly into the technology piece is you can build responsive atmospherics. So music can be a part of the overall environment, the overall strategy in terms of what the video is doing, in terms of what the lighting's doing. You can build a whole atmosphere that is dynamic, responsive according to, let's say, what's going on, what's playing, who's in the store or the venue, the club, whatever it may be. So now we've done the bit about why music is important. How are we going to use that within something like Q-SYS? So we looked at Q-SYS and its extraordinary power to work with third-party systems, and we realized that there was a bit of a gap where, speaking with integrators, we realized that whilst licensed music providers for business existed, usually it consisted of having a hardware box, right? Or multiple hardware boxes. And they would stack them up and connect them in with audio jacks and network ports going everywhere. Messy. Doesn't need to be done that way. And then from a control point of view, the integrator was usually either relying on a third-party plugin that maybe someone had done from a community aspect and it suited their purposes, but not the integrator at hand. Or there was no control whatsoever, and worst case, you had to then say, oh, you know what, you need to use this other app that's on this phone, what have you. Not great. So here's a typical example. You want to have 8 different styles of music. Let's say it's a hotel and you've got your bar, restaurant, your pool area, your gym, etc. You want different music playing in those different areas. What are you going to do? There's some streaming options out there, but typically, from my experience, what I've seen again is these racks of audio players that sit in that in the equipment room, taking up space, taking up input ports, taking up LAN ports. They're nightmare to configure, and quite often they're out of your control. You have to have a particular script to interface with them, or you have to say, go off and use this third-party app. So we took that idea and said, well, let's do something different and build our service into Q-SYS. So with our service, it runs directly on the Q-SYS core. There are no hardware boxes required. There is nothing to plug in, and no network ports other than the one that's already connected to the core. We have an extensive music database. Our services are backed up by Sound Machine, which is a reliable provider globally. So we use their tools and their interface. So every subscription that comes with us, you get a full premium subscription to Sound Machine as well. And I say, no hardware necessary. So this is great for things like the Core Nano, something like the MV32, etc., where you may be outputting over, let's say, Dante to various different areas, but you don't want to take up or have to get analog audio in from a player and then disperse it digitally out using Q-SYS. So this can have multiple zones of music all running directly on a core. Nothing else is needed. And we've proven this can be up and running straight from just getting the plug-in, putting it on. You can do this in about 2 minutes, 40 seconds, I think was the lowest time we got this running up. We currently support up to 12 zones of music. Don't know if I had a picture there. There we go. So 12 zones of music that runs directly on the core. So those are 12 independent channels of music that you can run at any one time, do what you will. They are licensed for business use, which is crucial, and obviously the licensing restrictions will vary upon region, but through us and our partner Sound Machine, we handle that as well. And again, the beauty of Q-SYS is this isn't a streaming product. So actually, the music tracks will cache to a certain extent on the Q-SYS core. So there's some redundancy there. If there's a quick internet dropout, etc., the experience of the end user and the guests in the venue isn't going to be disturbed. And also, naturally, we had to kind of come up with some templates for user control. So that's actually built in sort of out of the box, even though there's no box, so to speak. So by default, you get a really simple to use UCI design that you can just grab, put in, drop it into design, use it as is, or you can customize that to your end user's requirements. So, if you want to say, well, give the hotel manager access to control just these 3 zones, away you go. If you want to give them access to control everything, easy. So that's an example of just the UCI that we come in by default. So you get fully built album art. And again, courtesy of Sound Machine, we've got all of the access to the genre and station selections. There's approximately 450 different stations of music that you can choose from. There's a great deal. And you also have the ability to ingest music from third-party platforms that domestic users would be quite familiar with. So if a client has, for example, Spotify, or their marketing department's using Spotify or Deezer or what have you to program music internally, then we can take those playlists and directly import them into the account, and they're available straight on Q-SYS natively as a custom station. There's some pretty fun things that we've seen some people do as well, because we expand the control pins available. So we have seen some examples where, for example, using the logic of Q-SYS and the control pins on the player, you can say, well, if the artist equals Ed Sheeran, then skip that artist, right? I don't know what they had against Ed Sheeran. Personally, I think he's all right. He's a sound guy, but hey, you can do it. And namely, we are proud to be Q-SYS certified as well. So, yeah, we've seen some pretty cool things done with this. We've seen some good examples of where this is being used. And as I say, using the various functionality built into Q-SYS already, this can be integrated into various different things using snapshot recalls, customized controls, working with ambient noise monitoring. From a support point of view, if you have remote access to the core, this solves a great problem from a support point of view, because there's nothing worse than getting that call and they say, well, we've got no music. And then you're caught in between of, Well, is it the music player or is it ours? I can see your music's not playing, let me switch to a backup. Now you've got to call the third-party music provider. Have you got a contract with them? Oh, I don't know, etc. So you go through all of these motions just trying to solve the problem of, well, you just want music playing. All of that goes out the window because you've got it directly running on the core, you have access to it, you can control it. And again, we thankfully rely on the reliability of Q-SYS anyway. So very little issue. Yeah, and crucially, the whole idea of this is to take away that problem, namely from, let's say namely from the integrator, but also from the end user. You know, we've spoken to a lot of integrators who have said, you know, we've put in a system, maybe it's consultant-led, it's all done, and they get to that commissioning phase, they get right to the end, and then the client says, great, so what am I going to play on it? And the integrator says, well, have you got a phone or a tablet or Spotify, what are you going to do? And there's this question mark, right? So again, you can have this as a fully ready-made solution for the end user that they don't have to go out and find something at the last minute. It's directly licensed into Q-SYS, and really the integrator can just drop it in and get on with the rest of their job after delivering a fully capable solution. And again, because of the ease of use of it, this is one interface that I know is out there currently. You can give the staff of that environment, of that venue, direct access if you wish, and it just lets them get on with the rest of their job rather than having to muck around trying to find apps to change the music tracks and what have you. Nice and simple. And yeah, there's been some great success stories of where this is currently being used around the world. And again, thanks to great partnerships with some of the integrators that we're working with, they've deployed this in some really recognizable brands. And the other thing you should note as well, because it's part of the Sound Machine platform, then if there is requirements for other bits of hardware or perhaps there's spin-off locations, then there's other ways to deploy the music and still have it monitored in the same platform alongside Q-SYS deployments. So again, it works from an enterprise point of view as well.